Divine culture, the realistic spirit of the Renaissance, with both sacred form and essence. 2. Light and shadow techniques during the Middle Ages. Artists regarded light as a manifestation of the divine. To honor and depict God, they often used the most vivid and expensive colors, along with radiant gold leaf. While these works were visually splendid, medieval paintings mostly followed rigid, flat patterns that failed to create a truly convincing depiction of divine presence. In the Renaissance, artists shifted away from rigid iconographic forms and embraced themes rooted in reality. At this point, light took on a new artistic significance. Objects exposed to light exhibited complex variations in brightness and shadow. If a painter could accurately render these contrasts, they could create a strong sense of volume and weight in their subjects. This technique eventually became a fundamental skill in classical Western art, forming an essential part of drawing and shading studies. Florentine artists were among the first to break free from medieval conventions and achieve remarkable advancements in three-dimensional effects. In the early 14th century, Giotto studied nature, using light and shadow to restore realism to Greek and Roman art. As a result, he is honored as the father of the Renaissance. His frescoes cycle the life of St. Francis in the Upper Basilica of Assisi, and the story of Joachim in the Arena. Chapel of Padua demonstrate architectural depth and robust human forms. Although these works were not yet fully refined, they had a decisive impact on the future direction of painting. Masaccio and unified light sources at the beginning of the 15th century. Masaccio mastered light and shadow techniques, making them more natural and refined. He took things a step further by unifying the light sources in his paintings. For instance, in The Healing of the Cripple and The Raising of Tabitha, part of his St. Peter fresco series in the Brancacci Chapel, St. Peter and his followers move forward along a row of buildings, illuminated by a consistent light source from the upper right. This light casts highlights on their faces, robes, and the walls, while also creating long shadows on the ground. Every illuminated surface maintains logical consistency, making the composition cohesive and structured. Masaccio's unification of light sources was limited to a single fresco but encompassed the entire chapel. He positioned the central altar as the reference point for illumination light. In all murals on the left side, consistently comes from the right, while light in the right murals comes from the left. This meticulous approach ensured that the shadows and highlights across the chapel formed a rational, unified whole. Although Masaccio lived only 27 years, his contributions to Renaissance painting were monumental. His relatively small body of work became a standard for later artists. Great masters such as Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, and Raphael stood at his paintings, regarding him with deep admiration. Developments beyond Masaccio. Following Masaccio, numerous artists refined light and shadow techniques by integrating them with different painting mediums, such as egg tempera and oil painting. These refinements enabled even greater realism and precision in representing three-dimensional forms. Born in 1452, Leonardo da Vinci had an experimental mindset and frequently tested different approaches to contrast in light and shadow. Through experience, he discovered that delicate tonal transitions could enhance artistic expression. This led him to develop sfumato, a painting technique he described as smoke-like, and without perceptible edges, no lines or contours. Comparing Leonardo's early works such as Annunciation with later masterpieces like Mona Lisa, The Virgin and Child with St. Anne, and St. John the Baptist, one can observe his evolution in chiaroscuro. His later portraits showcase rich tonal depth and seamless light diffusion. In these works, the subject and background merge naturally, with figures emerging from shadowy surroundings, creating an ethereal and enigmatic effect. Michelangelo and Raphael, a different approach, while Leonardo da Vinci favored mysterious, shadowy backgrounds. The other two Renaissance titans, Michelangelo and Raphael, preferred using bright, vivid colors to define their subjects. Michelangelo, primarily a sculptor, was drawn to strong and well-defined structures in art. He emphasized the contours of the human body with bold colors, using dramatic contrasts in light and shadow to highlight the musculature and bone structure of his figures. As a result, Michelangelo's paintings often resemble sculptural reliefs, appearing solid and weighty. In his fresco, The Creation of Adam, Michelangelo decorates the border with various dynamic human forms, reinforcing his preference for bold anatomical definition. 3. Anatomy and human structure. Since ancient times, Western cultures have believed that God created humans in his own image, making the human body the most perfect and sacred form. Because of this belief, the Church considered anatomical dissection a desecration of the divine. Even in medicine, medieval physicians strictly followed textbooks and traditional methods, rarely conducting detailed research on the internal structure of the body. Italy, as the site of the Roman Empire's ruins, provided artists with glimpses of ancient achievements in human anatomy through surviving sculptures. During the Renaissance, the discovery of exquisite classical statues, such as Laocoon and his sons and Apollo Belvedere, further fueled artists' ambition to depict the beauty of the human form. However, accurately capturing the human body required direct observation. Early Renaissance artists discreetly observed the human form in public bathhouses, but as the demand for realism increased, they eventually turned to dissection to better understand movement, bone structure, and the changes in muscle tension. Leonardo da Vinci himself noted in his writings, "To understand human motion, one must first understand the limbs." Initially, dissections were conducted in secret, but over time, they became more accepted. Both Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo were able to dissect cadavers with the help of their associates, gaining profound insights into human anatomy. Da Vinci, in particular, conducted dissections on more than 30 male and female corpses, meticulously recording his findings. St. Jerome, in Anatomical Studies, after gaining a deep understanding of human anatomy, the impact on artistic achievements became evident. Da Vinci's sketch of St. Jerome illustrates the hermit striking himself with a stone to expel sinful thoughts. The saint's emaciated, semi-nude body provided Da Vinci an opportunity to showcase his anatomical knowledge. In this artwork, the hollow cheeks and sagging muscles vividly convey the saint's suffering. His neck connects dynamically to the chest, while his extended arm pulls his muscles, taut, revealing the detailed relationships between shoulders, pectoral muscles, collarbones, and ribs, all expressing strain and tension. Similar studies can be found in Da Vinci's later anatomical notebooks, highlighting his dedication to research and precision. Thanks to anatomical studies, artists could now effortlessly depict both large bodily movements and subtle facial expressions. For instance, Da Vinci's iconic Mona Lisa features a mysterious smile, a masterpiece of delicate muscle rendering and the application of his sfumato technique, creating a fleeting, enigmatic expression. Michelangelo's mastery of human motion. Once artists fully understood human anatomy, they could effortlessly compose dynamic poses. By this stage, no angle or movement was beyond their artistic grasp. Michelangelo, in particular, intentionally challenged himself by twisting the human form into complex poses, striving to maximize the expression of both internal energy and beauty. His monumental frescoes in the Sistine Chapel, the creation of Adam and the Last Judgment, represent the pinnacle of human anatomical artistry, pushing Renaissance figure painting to unprecedented heights. Michelangelo believed that the human body was God's most perfect creation, which is why his paintings and sculptures focused almost exclusively on human figures and often featured nudity without hesitation. According to Vasari, a friend and biographer of Michelangelo, an amusing event occurred while Michelangelo was painting the Last Judgment. Pope Paul III visited the unfinished work alongside Biagio da Cesena, the papal master of ceremonies. When the Pope asked Cesina's opinion, Cesena criticized the nude figures, saying they were inappropriate for a church more suited for bathhouses or taverns. Michelangelo, infuriated by the remark, painted Cesena into the fresco as the judge of hell, Minos. His body coiled by a serpent and surrounded by demons. Despite Cesena's desperate pleas to the Pope and Michelangelo, his damned likeness remained in the Sistine Chapel, visible to this day. However, Michelangelo's act of revenge may have had consequences. Not long afterward, he fell from scaffolding and injured his leg. The legacy of anatomical mastery. Michelangelo combined his exceptional drawing skills with anatomical knowledge to create some of history's most powerful and monumental human forms. Meanwhile, Leonardo da Vinci blended his precise anatomical studies with subtle, atmospheric lighting, a technique that profoundly influenced generations of artists.